Well, today on the podcast, we have a returning and fabulous guest, Julie Ayers, who has helped hundreds of practice owners gain financial freedom. She is the founder of GreenOak Accounting, the country's largest firm serving healthcare private practices. Julie is an accountant, consultant, speaker, and author of Profit First for Therapists and host of the Therapy for Your Money podcast. Julie, thanks for coming on the show today.
So good to be back here with you, Whitney. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. Yes. I just have such fond memories of all of our times together at conferences. And so I just
Yes.
feel so happy when we get to be together. Not only do you have a wealth of knowledge, but you're also just so much fun.
Oh, well, thank you. Back at you. I always enjoy hanging out with you at events.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in case anyone doesn't know you, can you share a little bit kind of where you live, you got kids, a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of
Ooh,
jump into this
yeah.
topic about money.
Money. We're talking money today. I'm Julie Harris, GreenOak Accounting. I am an accountant and lover of numbers. I love, love, love working with therapists. That's what we've done for the last 10 years over at GreenOak Accounting. And I'm a mom. I have three school-aged kids. One that's just started driving, and my baby, who's not a baby, is in elementary school still. So kind of I've had this business always while being a mom. And so that's the two things that I have juggled the entire time. So I get in, get my work done, and then get out because there's a lot of stuff to be done. So I like efficiency. And yeah, I love to talk about money. And I talk about that a lot on my podcast, Therapy for Your Money.
That's right. That's
And
right.
like sprinkled in there, I also wrote two books. So, there's that. Like I'm
You
looking back, I'm never sure, like, how did I manage to do that? Like, how do I find time for all of these things? But somehow it all comes together.
Well, of course, I think it's because you're my fellow Enneagram one and we like are determined and passionate. And when we decide we want to do something, my husband's always like, I'll come to an idea and I'm like, what about this? What about this? And he goes, look, Whitney, you don't need my feedback. You're going to do whatever you're going to do.
True story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
We're just gonna
you're
get it
after my
done.
own heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so I just want to emphasize the fact that Green Oak is specifically for practice owners.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's so many practice owners out there looking for an accountant and looking for someone who just can help with their finances in general, not just doing the taxes, but like help and provide advice and understanding. And so that's what I love about Green Oak is that you've been here for a long time,
Yeah.
have a lot of knowledge about practice owners and can bring that to the table.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of questions that a generalist accountant can't answer, right? And that's ultimately like how my business was born and why it was born is, yeah, of course, the accountant on the corner is probably great and they can do an accurate tax return, right? That's not a problem. It's just when you're going to them and asking very industry specific questions like how much can I afford to pay this person? Like when is it time to get an intake coordinator, an admin? When do I need leadership? Like they just don't know because they haven't worked with a lot of other people like you. Or if they have, it's like one or two. Whereas like we've worked with hundreds of practices. We know like the financial milestones that you need to hit and what you can and should expect from your practice.
Yeah. Well, when we were chatting before we started recording about topics we wanted to talk about, I asked Julie, is she seeing this same trend of people seem more hesitant this year? Practice owners seem more maybe fearful. I'm still trying to kind of put my finger on it about money. Money just seems different this year that I'm
Mhm.
noticing with practice owners and the way they're talking about it. Curious if you're seeing that as well.
Yeah. I do think there's just a lot of financial uncertainty right now, right? Rising gas prices, inflation is up, all of the things. And so that often makes people kind of just tense up a little bit and really hesitate to spend money. And so what we're seeing is a lot of people kind of looking at here's the expense list. What can I get rid of? And that's a normal thing to do, right? Like I think that's a great exercise to do once a year anyways. There are probably things that you're spending on whether personally or in the business that you don't need anymore, right? It served a purpose, you don't need it anymore. So that's a really good thing. But sometimes they're just cutting like indiscriminately, right? We're taking this out, we're taking that out. And when you're cutting, I think you just also always need to ask yourself, like, what is it going to cost me not to have this, right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of times there is an exchange of if that item was providing a return on investment or ROI, like what is it costing you to not have that expense, right? Is it going to reduce your revenue? right? What are the downstream consequences of this financial decision that you're making? That's a really important consideration.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so important. You look at a list, you want to cut something, but you aren't thinking about what you're losing by cutting it. You're just thinking about,
Yeah.
oh, I want to save this money, but you're not thinking about the ramifications of that item.
Yeah. So, really, if we want to dig in a little bit, when you're spending money on something, usually that means that you're not spending time, right? And that time has a compounding cost. So when you are spending money on a service, that's something that you are not DIYing. And so, like, if you are saving, for example, on admin or intake, great. Like, that still has to be done, right? And so, probably you are taking that on. And I know we were just talking about that in your practice, but someone's got to do it, and either it's not being done, or it's not being done well, or it's being done but it's kind of low on the priority list. But ultimately it has to get done, or else there is a negative financial repercussion on the practice, right? You could say that about marketing, about working with an accountant, working with a coach, right? A lot of times we're trading dollars for time. So when you're working with a coach, for example, you might be trading all of that time of like figuring it out on your own, right? The trial and error, you are shortening that by a significant
Oh,
amount.
yeah.
When you're working with an accountant, right? Like, could you figure out how to do your bookkeeping on your own? Sure, you probably can, right? You're all smart people as therapists, but like, should you be spending your time doing that? Are you doing it as well as someone who actually has a degree? Probably not, right? But so we're shortening the amount of time. Like, how do you get to a state where you actually have good, solid financial reports that you can trust? That's going to go a lot faster if you are working with a professional, right? So there's always that give and take of like, what is it going to cost you in time, and then also future opportunity as well.
Totally. I have so many examples and stories running through
Yeah.
my head as I'm listening to you. I remember a practice owner I was doing consulting with, and I gave her one piece of advice, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you just saved me $1,000."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yep, one piece
Yeah.
of advice." And so that can go so far. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Like, do you have other examples you want to share?
Well, I'm thinking about what we were talking about right before we got on. So currently, just for listeners, my practice, we have two intake coordinators to answer phones. And then I also have a director over the intake department. So technically, I've got three people before it gets to me to have to answer the phone. One guy is no longer here. Another one went on vacation.
Mm,
And so it was just the director and me on a Monday to take calls. And so I was taking calls yesterday, and it's grounding. It's good for me to
sure.
remember the process. And then I'm like, oh, we need to streamline this or that and the other. But I'm like literally getting chest pains while I'm like taking calls because it was ringing so much. But it wasn't just that, it was all the other things that I, as a business owner, needed to get to that I couldn't get to.
Yeah. The opportunity cost, right? Like all the things that still exist on your to-do list and are stacking, and you're either going to do them at night, or it's going to get pushed back days or weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think so much of it is, yeah, it's the financial part that we're talking about, but it's the part beyond that. It's what you're not getting to. It's
Mhm.
what's hurting in your business because you didn't pay attention to it because you were so in it, you didn't get to work on it. And for me, I'm a pretty emotional person. I'm passionate about what I do. And so the emotional component for me is also something like if I get pulled into something emotional that I have to take care of, it's hard for me to come back into my business and do the things I need, like an employee situation or something like that. So when I have a coach, someone to kind of help with that, helps me kind of regulate and think through things, that's worth a lot of money to me.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
An example that I have, like for my business, is a couple of years ago, I had this content that I wanted to put together in a course, right? I knew like this is
Uh-huh.
valuable, people want it, they asked for it, and I wanted a way to just kind of package that outside of our monthly accounting services. And
Yes.
so, am I smart enough to eventually figure out how to put that together, how to do curriculum, like how to post it and market it and all that? Like, yeah, I probably could eventually figure it out. But I worked with someone who just shortened all that. They said, go here, do this. This is the setting that you need, blah, blah, blah. Right. Like, just here's the to do list. And I can just go straight down the list instead of looking at, like, well, should I use this platform or that one or that one. And like, it was just all answered for me. And so, yeah, I had to spend some money on that, but then it shortened the amount of time it took me to get that live so much that I would pay that again and again, right? Like it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so that course, have you sold it?
Yeah, it sells
And how?
like every single week it sells.
So are you making more than what you put into
It's so much. Yeah. Like
so much?
that has paid for itself, I don't know, a lot of times over at this point. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. And I'm curious, if you hadn't had help, do you think you would have gotten stuck along the way?
100%. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Like if I may, another um example from my business is we have outsourced HR, right? Like a fractional HR person
Hmm.
because we don't need a whole HR person. We're not big enough for that. And some months we need nothing from HR, and other months we need a lot of things from HR, right? But like that, I see it almost as an insurance policy. Like if we need it, it's going to be there. And oh my gosh, it's going to be so much faster than there's a problem. Let's try to find someone. How do we deal with it? I'm chat GPTing this, and like maybe we're doing it right, maybe we're not. I mean, so having that just available at your disposal can be so valuable because like if you have the question, it's usually urgent, right? I feel that way about HR, about attorneys, about accountants. Like you don't have 3 weeks to go interview people and find someone. Like you need an answer pretty quickly. And so to have that person just there and ready is super valuable.
Yeah. Going back to your story about the course, a couple of years ago, I started the MBCC process
Mm.
and I got almost there. I was probably 70, 80% there, and it's a lot of work. And I
I've
just
heard.
couldn't finish. I got
Okay.
too tired. There were too many things. I was growing my business. And so now I actually took my tax refund and am now paying somebody to get it done for me because it's to me it's very important. But that goes
Yeah.
back to what you just said. It was like I now have used all that time and energy years ago and didn't get where I wanted to go, and now hopefully I will.
Yeah. I hope so. And you're totally right. Where you invested so much. And if you just get 80% there, the result is the same as 0%, right? Like you
Hmm.
just, it doesn't feel great. And sometimes we do have to trial and error things, but getting back to our original line of thought is like sometimes you do have to spend money on things that are going to have a return on investment, right? We're not talking about like buying tchotchkes for the office, but like if you are paying for things that are going to really help you accelerate the business, sometimes those are worth it. But it's hard to know if it is if you're not tracking anything,
Hmm.
right? Like if you don't have financials, if you don't have metrics, if you don't know where your leads are coming from. Like, how do you know which marketing is working? How do you know which marketing to cut? Right. Whitney, how often do you see in a therapist Facebook group someone say, like, I'm not getting any leads from Psychology Today? Why am I paying $30 a month? Like, okay, it's $30 a month, but like, do you know where your leads are coming from? And like, how are you leaning into that? What are you doing to track that? And are you then like spending more time and money and attention on the things that are working? Or sometimes it's like, have you updated your Psychology Today profile in the last decade? Maybe not.
Ah, that's so funny. Yeah, I would say almost every person I do consulting with, we go back and learn how to track data.
Mm,
Because almost every person is not tracking their data, or they are tracking their data, but they're not actually looking at it. So it's what it's supposed to do, but they don't take the time to see it.
to look. Okay.
Yes, and I bet you specifically see this with money. I mean, so many practice
Absolutely.
owners in my mastermind group right now, we're doing looking at our OPEX, looking what we pay ourselves. But so many of them are like, oh, a P&L report, or I don't look at that. And I'm like, money is one of the most important things in your business. You need to be looking at it several times a month at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, that's obviously I'm very partial to profit first, right? Obviously, I wrote my book is Profit First for Therapists, but I still look at, in my own business, which I'm an accountant, right? Like I love numbers. I look every Friday. That's just what I do. I look at what is going on. What is the cash coming in? What is the cash going out? Like, where are we? And it's not long, right? It's just maybe a 10-15 minute check of like, is everything what it's supposed to be? And then I'm
Mhm.
on my way. But like you have to, if you're not looking, you don't know what's going on in the business. And it can take so long to catch problems. What is your cadence? How often are you looking at your money?
Every other week.
Every other week. Okay.
Yeah, I have an accountant that sends me my profit first, and then I go through and I look at it to make sure everything's in check and do the percentages and then if it's not, I can quickly see it and make adjustments.
Yeah, where you know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, but as far as our intake calls, we're looking that data and our analytics on Google and all that kind of stuff. We're looking at that every week
Okay.
and then figuring out where are we missing things. But even when you're talking about the marketing, I've had so many practice owners, I get on a call with them and they say, my marketing's not working. I'm investing all this money. And I'm like, okay, what's your analytics showing you? And they're like, what? I don't know. I'm not getting as many inquiries. And this other practice owner I worked with, we started doing that and we ended up finding out they were only converting 30% of the calls. I'm like, you want to stop paying for this service that's actually
Oh,
getting you more calls, but you're not converting the calls.
yeah.
So that's your problem. And so then she went and hired a new person and now she's getting more inquiries without spending any more money.
Um, I think that's amazing. One thing that we have been recommending to a lot of our clients, because we're not marketing people, right? So sometimes we'll hear the same thing, like, oh, the marketing's not working.
Mm.
And our recommendation has been like, well, are you sure it's the marketing or is there something else? Like, have someone who's unrelated to your practice, right? A neighbor, a friend, do not coach them. Have them go through the process of
Yes.
finding your website, getting on your website. Do they know what they need to do? Do they need to call or email or text or fill out the form? How clear is it? How long does it take someone to get back to them? Like, how simple was it to get an intake appointment? And you will often be surprised. Like, you know your own system, so you can navigate it easily, but other people might not be able to. And we're in 2026, like people are expecting things to move quickly, right? Like go,
Yes.
go, go. And so if it's complicated, maybe the system just needs to be updated. And so that's free. But if you're, as you said, like if your website is losing people, then it's not a marketing problem, it's a website problem, right? Like there's so many different places where the issue could be that you need to look at all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got a question that's been going through my head as
Okay.
we're talking. You have worked with practice owners for years, and you
Mhm.
probably see decisions or habits of successful businesses, successful practice owners. As their businesses have grown, you've watched it. So I'm curious, what are those habits that you're seeing from successful practice owners?
Yeah. And I will say it's still very much possible to run a successful, profitable practice in 2026, right? That still definitely
Oh,
exists.
yes.
Is I think it's no longer accidental, right? In 2020, 2021, we were seeing people like, oops, I have $1 million practice. I don't know how this even happened. Like, I'm making all this money. What do I do with it? That no longer exists. It's intentional. It's not accidental. You're laughing, but you know it's true, right?
That's so funny. And it is true.
Like that's how it was. So it's very intentional. You are ultimately it, right? As the owner. So you can definitely delegate and you should delegate a lot of things, but you cannot abdicate responsibility, right? So ultimately, like you have to be tracking the things and having the conversations and having the meetings to make sure that you understand what's going on in your practice. Because even if you say, like, oh, well, I didn't know they were doing this over here, it still ends, the buck ends with you, right? Like it is still ultimately your responsibility. So you need to know what is going on in the practice. Successful practice owners are typically surrounding themselves with a team of experts, right? So they are not DIYing everything. They know how much their
Mm,
time is worth, how valuable their time is, and they're going to do everything they can to stay in their zone of genius. And that is
mm,
often not figuring out something completely new, right? Like when there is enough money in the practice, like you're best served by saying, like, I've identified the problem. This is the person who's going to solve it. Right. And so you're kind of directing traffic more than taking it all on your shoulders. So if there's a website
mm,
problem, you're not in there like tinkering in WordPress. You've got the WordPress person who's like going to send the problem to them. They're going to fix it, report back to you. Okay. Like you're just directing traffic because there's so much traffic. If you stop to take every problem to yourself, like it's slowing down the whole practice. So that's another piece. A third item I will say is you've got to be really intentional with your personal lifestyle, possibly unpopular, but as a practice starts doing better, I definitely want the practice owner to be taking more home and doing better. But I have seen many times in the last couple of years, like practice owners paint themselves into a corner where they're kind of assuming like this growth will continue on forever and will never stop, right? And there are plateaus in a business. There are seasons of growth and then maybe a season of retraction, like one of your heavy hitters leaves or something happens in the practice. You're just suddenly making less money. And if you've painted yourself in a corner, if you have increased your lifestyle to a point where you need to take every penny out of that business, you are actually putting your business at risk. And I do see that happen. So I just think in the good years, it's really easy to think it will always be a good year. And that's just not the truth. That's just not how small business works. It's not a question of if something will go wrong, it's a question of when something will go wrong. And you need to protect your practice and protect yourself. That means an emergency fund in the business, an emergency fund personally, but just living within your means, right? Just because you can take home $15,000 a month doesn't mean that your expenses should become $15,000 a month, right? Like
Mm.
that's kind of what I mean, where you can enjoy it, save it, go on a nice vacation. But like that doesn't mean that you should buy a house that's 3 times the size or like increase your home and your car and all the kids go to private school now and like everything in your life costs exponentially more money and you're kind of stuck. That's a dangerous place to be. Do spend some money, do drive a nicer car if that's what you care about, but like pick the things that matter to you, not necessarily all the things.
I am so glad you brought that up. You could see my face like, oh, oh, yes, I do see this with practice owners. Or
Yeah.
someone will tell me how stressed they are about their finances and then tell me about a trip to Greece that they're about to go on for 2 weeks. And I'm like, how can you run your practice, and like do all these things? I mean, vacations are great. But yeah, I certainly think people are living beyond their means and we feel like
Mhm.
we have to. I don't really know what it's all about, but, and then they're stressed about the money in their business. It's just not worth it.
It's not. Yeah, it's not worth it. And I just think as the practice owner, like your primary responsibility is to ensure the survival of the practice. And so that does mean like you have to leave some money in, right? The profit is technically yours, right? And I do want you to take it, but that profit, it has some heavy lifting to do. It has to pay you. It has to fund your expansion. If you want to expand, it has to pay any debts you have and it has to pay taxes. So it's not technically all yours, right? Some of it has to stay in the business to keep it operating in the form of retained earnings, right? Like that money always stays yours. It is yours, but you just can't take like every penny of profit out of the business or the business is unprotected.
Totally. Yeah, I've actually been and we've talked about this, spending a lot of my profits in investments.
Yeah,
And we're about to purchase our second building, which is exciting.
that's
I don't know if I
incredible.
told you about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels good, even though I'm like, hey, I'd rather buy a nice house for me and my family, and we'll get there one day. But like, I can have this great building, which is a great investment in my retirement and where I'm
Yeah.
going, and I'll always have that. And so I certainly think practice owners should be considering those things as well.
Yeah, and I think what is ultimately important to each person is different, right? And
Yeah.
that's where like the comparison game is just not helpful. Some people care about cars. I personally do not. I don't care about cars. I have a very old car. Could I buy another car if I wanted to? Yeah, probably, but like I just don't care. I don't want that. But I love experiences, specifically experiences with my family and my kids. Like so that's I save up for that, and when there's money, I spend it on that. And like that's what I personally love, but everyone has a thing. Like some people care about clothes or designer bags or whatever that your thing is, like zero judgment. It's just if you're buying all the things because you think that's what you should have as a 1, 3, $5 million practice owner, like
Hmm.
who cares?
Totally agree with everything you're saying. And yeah, it's kind of like what we went back to our business. It's like return on investment can mean so many different things to a lot of people. Like if I can do something that saves me time or I don't have to think about
Mhm.
something, I'll put a lot more money into that maybe than other people will because I'm just like, I can't take these things on.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and maybe one other item, like if we were looking at successful practice owner versus someone who's struggling sometimes it is a little bit of a mindset, right? Where I'll see practice owners like they'll spend an hour on the phone to save $20 from their internet provider, which like, okay, great. I mean, that $20 a month, okay, that's $20. Your time is worth so much more than that. But also, if you're doing that at the expense of you're ignoring the big thing, right? Where you have some
Yes.
compensation issues, and like that's where really you can save $20. But if like your big problem is over here, that is not going to move the needle, right? And you're avoiding the really important things by doing all this kind of busy work. That's not helpful. So when I think of a successful practice owner, like they are spending most of their time on revenue generating activities versus just trying to maybe reduce expenses slightly, right? Like
Yes.
we're really looking at the big picture of, yeah, I could save $20 or I could go talk to the pediatrician across town who sends us a bunch of referrals and like make sure that they have our business cards or pamphlets or whatever. Like that's probably going to generate exponentially more dollars into the practice than like saving $20. And really you
Good
could
point.
do both, right? But like should you be the one calling, calling the internet provider? Probably not.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head with practice owners are distracted by the things that don't really matter because they don't want to look at the things that do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
like,
see that all the time. And I have my current mastermind group that I'm working with. I'm like, wow, like your homework is this. You have to post it here. You have to tell me that you did it. And, it's hard. It's hard to face things. Like it takes so much courage. And I'm so proud of them. But yeah, we want to do all the other things. I do it too. I want to do all the other tasks. I don't want to deal with this big thing I need to actually face. But that's the very thing that's going to move the needle forward.
yeah, I have also absolutely been guilty of that, at various times. Like we all do it, but how do you snap yourself out of it? Like at some point you recognize like, okay, I've been avoiding this. Do you have any tricks for snapping yourself out?
I guess everybody's a little different, but I need accountability.
Okay.
Like if I know that my coach is waiting on me to get back to them and tell them this thing, I can't tell you how many times I get into a consulting session, when I'm the consultee, and he will say to this, I will fight, I will argue, I'll be like, no, that's a waste of time. And as soon as we're done, I actually will go do the thing and then it'll actually be exactly what I needed to do. But it's like that accountability piece. Huge.
Okay. Okay. I
Huge.
like to, when I'm avoiding something,
Uh-huh.
I put a timer on my phone. I tell myself, like, okay, you're going to spend 30 minutes on this. And after 30 minutes, you don't have to keep going. But usually I will keep going. Right. But I need to know, like, this is not forever. I can just, like, it's going to be hard. I'm going to get in there for 30 minutes and I'm going to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
usually I'll take a little break after and then, like, get back in because I've just kind of broken the cycle. So that's my trick to myself.
Yeah, that's a good one. And honestly, sometimes we get in there and it's a lot easier than we ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Maybe you're done in 30 minutes. Right. But like, I need to know that there's an end in sight.
Yeah. Oh, this has been great. As we're kind of like looking to wrap up here, what are you thinking it would be some advice for practice owners right now that are listening and they're in 2026 and they're like, I'm just scared. I don't know how to invest. What am I supposed to be doing in my practice with my money?
Yeah. Yeah. I would look at all the numbers, right? So, what's going on in your practice? How much can you reasonably take home from your practice as it is right now, right? Not as you wish it were, but as it is right now. Take a hard look. If you are feeling stressed about money, take a hard look at what you are spending at home. A lot of people don't have a personal budget, no judgment, but like if things are feeling tight, look at that. It's often more than you think. And sometimes just little tweaks here and there can make a big difference there, right? Of like you might be spending more than you think. I think it's a great idea to go through the list of your expenses. If there's things that you are not using, go ahead and let them go. Specifically, like I know we do that exercise once a year. Sometimes there's software like that you can combine where, oh, Google does this now, so we don't need this other thing anymore. Or Zoom does this now, so we're not going to pay for this other thing anymore, right? Like new features, just kind of spending a little time looking at that and combining things.
Good.
But then thinking about like if I'm cutting this thing that actually does have a return on investment, like what is going to cost me to not have this, right? What is it going to have cost me to not spend on marketing or whatever the item is? Just really give some thought to what that is and if it makes sense.
That's all really great advice.
Yeah.
And
Um,
yeah,
if I can add one more, that
yes.
if you're in a difficult financial situation, get professional help as well, right?
Mm.
That might look different for every practice. It might be a coach, it might be an accountant, it might be an attorney, it might be HR, it might be a lot of different things. But get someone who can be in your corner and look at what's going on with you in an impartial way and help you kind of navigate through that because it can be really lonely being a business owner sometimes where you don't want to put that burden on your team, but you don't have to be alone in a lot of those hard decisions. So get some professional help.
I'm so glad you said that. I've seen so many practice owners come out positive in the end after getting help,
Absolutely.
and they think to themselves, I don't have the money for this. In fact, Sarah referred somebody to me, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago that met
Okay.
with her with GreenOak, and the practice owner was struggling in the negative. I don't know what to do. And Sarah was like, here's some advice. And one of them included reaching out to me, which I greatly appreciated.
Good.
And now we've been working together for 4 or 5 months, and she's starting to get in the positive and making changes,
Amazing.
changed her model, just hired someone. Like all these things are happening for her.
That's
And she
amazing.
has certainly put in the work, but it's exactly what you said. It's going to the experts, getting the advice, having that team of professionals, not just one, but here's my accounting professional, here's my consultant, here's my marketing person, and getting yourself out of that hole.
Yeah, yeah. And I would also add to that, don't wait until it's too late, right?
Yeah.
Get help before you're taking out a second mortgage on your house or you're making some of these big decisions that are very hard to reverse, right? Like the payday loan of the small business. Like before you get to that place, get some help. Don't go through all of that by yourself because sometimes if the hole is too big, even a professional might not be able to help you get out of it, right? If you are taking on loans with 40% interest, like those are really hard to dig your way out of. And but if you go to a professional before that, they might be able to help you identify like, hey, maybe you need a smaller team right now. And that's a hard thing to see as the owner, but
Mm-hmm.
someone who's got outside perspective might see like this does not make financial sense anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been great, encouraging, fabulous conversation. And if owners are listening and they want to hear more about Green Oak or would like some consultation, can you give some direction about that?
Yes, absolutely. We are easy to find online at greenoakaccounting.com. We offer a free consultation. So if you're interested in finding out more about our services, it's a very low pressure way of just getting some information and seeing if it might be a good fit and if we are able to help you, which the answer is usually yes, right? Usually
Yes.
we are able to help. And so I would invite you to go to greenoakaccounting.com and schedule a consultation with actually Sarah from our team and chat with her.
Wonderful. Yeah, and the other thing I love about Green Oak, not only are you specialized, but you offer a variety of services. So I think a lot of people are nervous to do a consult because I don't have a lot of money to spend on something. But you have so many different programs to kind of meet people's needs in different phases of growth in their practice, different goals, but also where they are financially to get them to the next level. So I appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you. And also, as you alluded to, Whitney, if accounting is not what you need, we will also tell you, right? So if you
Hmm.
need a coach or if you need billing help, like we will tell you that we're not just going to try to sell you accounting services. If you need something different, we're going to be super honest about it.
Yeah. Well, Julie, thank you for the partnership over the years. And I know that
Yes,
y'all will be at the Wise Practice Summit in October. So
absolutely.
there'll be an opportunity for people to stop by the table and ask questions and get assistance. And we really appreciate you.
We love partnering with you. Thanks.